This is my little food dehydrator that's actually working fantastic.
Do you guys see that? It is awesome.
Isn't that awesome? We should try it while we're thinking. So this one, the newest ones have been in here for about 12 hours, I think. It's not as fast as an electric dehydrator, but the power is free, and they just sit there, and if I'm home and if the fire's going, I will have that on there, and I just have it hung from the ceiling, and it works really well. There's other ways to dehydrate, and I am trying to get that.
You guys are missing out.
It's good, right?
This is like the bomb.
They smell a little bit like smoke. They were over.
They're yummy. She smokes them in applewood. She does this gourmet dehydrating system here.
Right. I do have to kind of limit how I give them to the girls though, because they are full of sugar. Even though they're natural, there's nothing else on them. They do hype the girls up quite a bit. Was I talking to you on the phone yesterday when I'm like, never again.
I'm not making bananas for you guys anymore.
Because they did that. It's really high concentration of sugar. I don't know if I would put jerky in this dehydrator because I don't feel like the temperatures get high enough for consistent amount of time, because I don't want to have this over here when I'm not home and in the house to make sure that if it fell, which it wouldn't, but if it did fall, we'd end up with melting plastic and things. So use some caution. Let's see here. I'll show you this other one. This other one is a food dehydrator that you can put on a warming oven or on a shelf above a wood burning stove, and you put little cookie sheets on it. So when I dehydrate my garlic or stuff, that's what I do.
I was like, those are really big gaps.
Yeah, you had to put them on a tray. This is one of those open air dehydrators, and even though we've had temperatures in the 50s, it's swung anywhere from the 50s to the 80s. They say that you have to bring a dehydrator in at night because you'll get mold, but you can look at this and see there's absolutely no mold. It dehydrated. This is the peel, the pith, all the core and peel that was left over when I did applesauce. And I will save this for the goats. The way that I did it was I just took a shelving elbow, and attached it to the side of the summer kitchen at a perfect height so I could get it on and get it off. And this just folds up into a really nice little package when I'm done with it. I showed you guys this dehydrator hung out on a shelving elbow on the outside of the summer kitchen. And that was how I dehydrated this bag of the cores and the peels that was left over after doing applesauce. And now, since we're getting closer to winter, what we've done is Mr. Dirt has come in and sunk a hook in the ceiling next to the wood burning stove. And it's not so close to the chimney that it would cause a fire, and it's not directly over the cooktop, because you don't want anything falling onto your cooktop. Obviously right now we don't have the stove on, so we're just using it to ripen tomatoes, and we've got some mullein that we just picked that we're ripening. So there is a fan over there on the other side of the stove.
It's a little dirty.
It's a little dirty because we haven't used it since last winter. So as that breeze blows across the stove, it will blow into the dehydrator, and the temperature up here is right at about 100 degrees this close to the stove. And as that breeze blows past, it will dehydrate things. And I haven't tried it with meat. I don't know if the temperature gets high enough to do meat, but for herbs and something that's already somewhat dry, I probably wouldn't do applesauce with it, but apple slices would probably be fine. Your average temperature that you cook things on in a regular electric dehydrator is between 110 and 150. You set it at about 145, 150 for meat products like jerky. So anyway, this is how it turns out, and it's really nice and dry. And I had it outside at night, during the day. I didn't have any molding problems, but our climate is very dry. A lot of people talk about how they can't use solar dehydrators at night. They can't leave it out without things getting moldy, but I haven't had that kind of problem. The reason that it has this netting on it is to keep bugs out, and this just zips down and around the bottom. So we had a lot of yellow jackets that tried to get into this when it was outside, but they can't get into it. And this cost us $50. We got it about 4 years ago. These little trays lift out, and then these holders are attached with ribbons, and I use hot glue to keep these ribbons attached to these little trays. Otherwise, the little slots don't hold the ribbon very well, and these trays fall off every time you try to get your trays in and out. So, and then once you're finished with it, where's the bottom? Hold still for a sec, I'll grab the bottom.
Holding.
When you're done, everything just accordions up, and the two white pieces snap into each other, and that's how you store it, and it's very nice and very flat. So we really like this, and it costs about $1 an hour to run our food dehydrator that is electric. So it's a huge savings, anything you can do by air drying and solar drying. And at this point, we haven't been able to get a solar dryer, solar dehydrator that works with heat convection, the ones where you put the windows on top and everything. We just haven't been able to get to doing one of those, and this one works pretty well in small batches. So, okay, this is how I wash my dehydrator trays. I've got the shower on, and I drizzled dishwashing soap on it and then baking soda. And these are really an odd shape, so it makes it difficult to clean them in a regular sink because you can't get them all soaked at the same time. And if you've done a meat product, which we just did jerky, you want to make sure to clean your trays in between. And so the shower works really nice. However, if you're just doing vegetables and fruit, you don't need to wash it. See how clean those are? And because you don't want to cross-contaminate with meat. And the flexible trays that go on top of these, it's easy to clean them in the sink, so that's not a big deal. But this is the easiest, cleanest way to get these clean. It would take me an hour to get all these clean in a regular sink. And they're clean. So what I like to do is fruit leather, because when I do applesauce, we don't eat it as well. So don't waste your time processing things in a way that your kids won't eat. If this is the first time you've canned, sure, go ahead and try applesauce. But if you find that you don't eat it, don't bother with it, because you can make fresh applesauce with your storage apples all year round and just do it fresh. We like fruit leather. It is not as heavy, it stores very easily, and it transports easily. So that's what we like. So I cannot get ahead of myself. And also, be careful about overloading your circuits on your electrical breakers. Don't plug in too many high output things with in the same breaker.
We are gonna wash these.
You're gonna wash them?
Oil them.
Oil them.
And make applesauce.
That's so your fruit leather doesn't stick. So here is some more fruit leather, how I do it. I have it in old sour cream containers and stuff like that, only because I ran out of jars. But I've got lots and lots of this in my fridge. Or as one batch is finished, I'll start another batch. It's helpful at this point to have a spoon or a fork, and just make sure you don't have any little knots of applesauce that are chunky. Chunky applesauce is very non-friendly in a dehydrator. It will not dry evenly, and it'll make it so you have to leave it in the dehydrator a lot longer. It takes about 1 quart of applesauce for 1 tray of fruit leather. And if you're buying fruit leather from the store that's all organic, just like this is, it generally will cost you close to $2 for a roll this size. You can get the little tiny rectangular ones that are natural for like 78 cents a piece. This is a finished product with the fruit leather. You've got to be careful when you do your fruit leather that you don't have any big chunks of applesauce like that. You want it to all be very, very smooth and thin. You want it to be runny applesauce, not chunky applesauce. And I had a couple chunks in here that I was in a hurry, and I did not mix them in so that they were all consistent. And so it took me an extra 12 hours to get these dry over what it should have. So These are the special trays that you use. You can see that. It's really hard to do this one-handed. Anyway, what I do is I will tear it down the middle here, and I will roll each half up individually. You can see that. And I will let them cool off with the bag open for a few hours, and then I'll push all the air out, close them up, and go put them down in my storage room.